Today's shout out goes to Carey Driver. Thank you, Carey. Zurzoth Chaos Rider versus Rielle the Everwise, Zacama Primal Calamity, and Yorion Sky Nomad. Just have to hope that we can stay in cards, maybe get into a wheel at some point. Turns out our friend Rielle has some fast mana of their own over there in a Soul Ring, but I don't think they're getting off to quite as good a start as we're about to. Okay, Kirk Keep, we will definitely get some red mana down, followed by a Mana Crypt and an Arcane Signet. Hopefully we'll be able to go for the Gilded Lotus next turn. Then unfortunately both Zacama and Yorion getting off to real starts, quote unquote, and Yorion. This is Mono White Yorion being piloted by Billy Kills, a patron of the channel, so a big thank you to Billy Kills for that. Then on turn 2, our opponent gets down Rielle the Everwise. I think we'll definitely want to shove a Gang of Devils over there. Take a Lightning Bolt from the Mana Crypt and get into a Shared Animosity, which will be good if we can go Devil's Playground into our commander and a Shared Animosity. I think that might be the plan instead of Rielle. We definitely want to get down a land and the Gilded Lotus before anyone wheels us. And speaking of wheels, yeah, let's go in for the Shared Animosity now as well, instead of our commander. And if no one does wheel, we can actually get down our commander and the Devil's Playground next turn, and then hopefully the turn after that start throwing in some Devils into the red zone. A War Priest of Thune will get rid of the Shared Animosity, and if Yorion has anything to say about it, there's going to be no enchantments hitting play this game. And Explore from the Naya player gets them into another land, so they're ramping themselves a little bit at least. Rielle deciding to do some setting up before going in for any kind of wheel. There is a Chasm Skulker. And then following things up with a Gamble, 5 cards in hand, chances are they'll keep the card that they gamble for. And turns out they have, because they have discarded an island, and that will have them draw a card with their commander, which puts a plus counter on the Chasm Skulker, puts their commander up to a 1-3. Then swinging in at us with Rielle, we are the most threatening at the table, I think. And it's another mountain for us, so let's get down as much red mana as possible. I don't expect we'll keep our Gilded Lotus for very long. Unfortunately, no haste for us, so let's just go in for Zurzoth, followed by Devil's Playground, and we'll attempt to keep hold of our Devils until next turn. A Mind Stone from the Mono White Flicker player, and then going for Golden Egg. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. A Lotus Cobra from the Zacama player, still missing some red mana, unfortunately, but maybe they'll be able to get into red mana if they can just make a land next turn with the Lotus Cobra. Intuition from the Rielle player now, and they are targeting us with that, so we'll have to... yeah, we're probably going to have to make a tough decision here. Oh, alright, they just go in for a land. Let's see here. The Scalding Tarn, they just take 1 life. Shivan Reef, I think they'll be able to dodge. Shivan Reef deals more damage to them across the entire game, doesn't it? And then it might be that there's something in their library that cares about island or mountain count. So let's just give them the Shivan Reef and hope that they take more than 2 damage to that across the course of the game. But that's certainly not the most potent use of intuition I've ever seen, so yeah, glad to see it be cast there instead of grabbing combo pieces. They cycle Curator of Mysteries, so that draws them a couple of cards. Now the Chasm Skulker going in at the white player this time. That's a 5-5 at the moment. Okay, and then we managed to keep all our Devils until this turn. Do we play that Gang of Devils to get rid of Rielle? This is the problem now. Impact Tremors. I think we have to play Impact Tremors, don't we? So let's not play the Gang of Devils. We want to keep as many cards in our hand as possible so that... does it really matter? I think we've got more chance of keeping a card in our hand that we actually care about if we've got 2 cards in hand as opposed to just 1. So let's swing in. Zurzoth can go in at the Zacama player, and then the Devils can be spread around. I don't think it really matters who swings in where on that front. So it's 2 Devils in to the right, 2 Devils in to the left, and Zurzoth going straight down the middle. And that obviously triggers our Zurzoth. So everyone's going to draw and discard randomly. The discard effects are coming into play with Rielle now. They only care about a discard effect once a turn, but it's kind of doubling it up because we are going to keep having them discard on our turn. So each of our opponents have drawn into a card and discarded at random. We've obviously gotten a devil for each of them that did that. Wrath of God, really good to get rid of, especially because it's a white border. Let's close the graveyard so we don't have to look at that monstrosity. Tooth and Nail being discarded here, another good one to get rid of. Then no card discarded here apparently because it must have gone on top with Library of Leng. And then we've kept the exact same hand because we discarded at random a Wildfire Devils. So it looks like there's no blocks being made. We're going to get all of this damage through. Not that it's much damage. This is the problem with these Devils decks. Let's go for getting rid of the Rielle, I think. Thankfully, the Impact Tremors, if it stays in play, is going to do really well for us. Oh, this is when it dies, not when it enters. Okay, I thought that was a Lightning Bolt when it enters, and that's why I wanted to use it to get rid of Rielle, but apparently, misremembering what the Devils do. I've never played with Devils before, apart from maybe the Hell Rider. Impact Tremors, we could probably deal a lot of damage to our opponents with that over the course of the next few turns, but I don't think we're going to keep it thanks to the War Priest of Thune. They do make a land, so they're probably going in for Yorion here. We don't have a sack outlet, unfortunately. A Goblin Bombardment would be really good to get rid of this thing. Alright, a Smothering Tithe, so not going in for their Yorion just yet. Still no red mana over here, unfortunately, for this player. Getting into a Reliquary Tower. Alright, that's a pretty good one. Creeping Corrosion, destroy all artifacts. That makes the Smothering Tithe really, really good. Yeah, and that makes our fast start. Yeah, we're actually quite a ways away from casting our commander again, if someone manages to get rid of it. We'll just have to continue to try and disrupt our opponent's hand, keep them out of wraths and stuff like that, close the graveyard so we don't have to look at that disgusting Wrath of God. But yeah, maybe we'll be able to keep them out of wraths if we continue to have them discard them at random. Gang of Devils is actually going to work really nicely against having the Chasm Skulker swing in at us. I don't think they'll want to swing in that 8/8 into this because they'll lose their commander. Anyway, they're going for cycling the Curator of Mysteries again. Oh, they must be putting that on top with the Library of... Or they must have put it on top with Library of Leng when they discarded it. So, going for it again. Yeah, that's a really good interaction with Rielle. I never thought of that one. Anyway, it does hit the bin this time. And even with all this card draw, they seem to be struggling on getting into lands. Let's see if this Chasm Skulker turns sideways. It does, goes back in at Yorion. And then Rielle goes in at the Dinosaur player. Okay, and the War Priest blocking, that's really good. So we might actually keep our Impact Tremors. There's lots of enchantment and artifact removal in white, so we're still not guaranteed it, but War Priest of Thune going down is really good for us there. Saving themselves a hit for 10. And then what does our opponent discard at the end of the turn? They've got Echo of Eons. I'm actually, not disappointed to see that in our opponent's graveyard. If they go for that at some point, it'll refill our hand. And they've got Mystic Retrieval as well. We get into a Charmbreaker Devils, which is at the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery at random from graveyard to hand. And the only one we've got at the moment is the Devil's Playground. Let's just swing in with our Devils again and see what card we get into. I'm going to leave the Gang of Devils untapped so that Rielle doesn't attack into us. Alright, nice and confusing. So, Billy Kills is going to get a Zurzoth. Then these 3 tokens going into the right. That goes into Billy Kills as well. These 2 go down the middle. And let's pull that one out and send that one down the middle as well. Then all of us will draw a card and discard at random. We will get into 3 Devils for our efforts. A bunch of Smothering Tithe triggers to go with that as well. And Rielle will draw an additional card. Hopefully get them into a land. And we have discarded a Caged Sun, which I actually don't mind. Yeah, we're nowhere near that. Obviously we're nowhere near Charmbreaker Devils either. I think we might just have to play the Kerr Keep and then make a token with that at the end of someone's turn. Yeah, so that means we're not paying for Smothering Tithe. Then each of these Devils will ping all of our opponents with the Impact Tremors. And the more Devils we get out, obviously the more damage we're going to throw around. We don't have anywhere near enough damage. We don't have a damage doubler or anything to actually make the pings all that relevant yet. That's the problem with these small pingers. We need to buff their power and toughness, really. But we've got a throng of Devils running around the battlefield at least. Let's play this Kerr Keep at the end of combat. And then we'll pass the turn over. Didn't look at what they all discarded, actually. There's a Ghost Quarter over here, a Forest here. And then Incendiary Command here. They can grab that back with the, where is it? The Mystic Retrieval, if they want to. And that would deal with our Devils quite easily. Meteor Golem. Does that go on the Impact Tremors? Nope, it goes onto our Zurzoth, so we'll need an additional mana to get into our Zurzoth again. Definitely put that in the command zone. Then a Journey to Nowhere. Surely that goes on this, because I think this is a death trigger, isn't it? Yeah, when it dies they get the squid tokens. So Journey to Nowhere would go here, I would imagine. And then you actually don't mind flickering the Journey to Nowhere once it's got a Chasm Skulker underneath it, because yeah, it doesn't really matter if it comes back in as a 1-1. Anyway, that is what they go for. Now a Pentarch Ward. You choose a colour when it enters. The chosen colour is red. Draw a card. Has protection from the chosen colour. So they can pretty much block anything we swing in at them. They can also swing straight through to us. Not really all that worried about the Meteor Golem, to be honest, although they will want to protect that from red so that we can't ping it to death. A regrowth from the Zacama player now, and they went for a basic forest with that. Yeah, you would assume they'd go for an explore really and try and get into... They haven't fixed their colours yet, and it is turn 5. Let's see what they're going for here. A Day of Judgment, destroy all creatures. So that's all creatures going down. Who are we most worried about? I think we're most worried about the Yorion player, to be honest. So let's throw a bunch of pings that way, and in all honesty, I really don't see how we're going to get out of this one now. Because we had all of our rocks blown up, and it's the problem with running colours that don't ramp too well. You have to rely on mana rocks, and if someone blows them all up, then well, you're tough out of luck, really. So all those triggers going in at Billy Kills. He is currently at 23. And I'm just hoping that the Izzet player is so desperate for cards or lands that they're actually going to go for the Time Twister next turn, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that front. And it's a tricky spot anyway, because if they do go for the Echo of Eons, then they're playing it into a Smothering Tithe, and that is a fresh grip and a bunch of mana that you're giving to the white player, and Yorion is really, really good, so yeah, I don't know if they will go for that or not. Anyway, knocking Yorion down to 10, and Enigma Drake instead from the Izzet player, so not going for the wheel. Equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in the graveyard. That is a 5/4 flyer. Let's go for the Kerr Keep, and we'll get ourselves into a Kobold token. Alright, there is a Tibalt which we can cast here. Let's say no to the Smothering Tithe. Never played this Tibalt before. We get to make a Devil token, and opponents can't gain life. Not sure how relevant that is, but we do have a couple of white players at the table. Let's go in for the Tibalt. We can only make a couple of Devils with it. Hopefully our opponent isn't distracted with the Enigma Drake. Hopefully they don't swing that into Tibalt, because I think that would be a waste of an attack. I think we need to get rid of this player really, because Smothering Tithe is going to keep them in a bunch of mana. Although they are in top deck mode, so does it really matter? Yeah, maybe going after us or the Zacama player is the right choice. Yorion just taps out and passes the turn. Now going over to Zacama, who has not done the best job of ramping this game, so they're still a ways off of their commander. Now it is Kessig Wolfrun, still missing the red mana. But they've still got something to do, seemingly. Okay, mana doubler in Mirari's Wake, that's pretty damn good. So maybe the Enigma Drake needs to be going over here. Yeah, if they get into red mana next turn, they are definitely getting down their Zacama. Rielle coming down for a second time. And then the Enigma Drake is going in at the mono white player. And then pulling back, deciding against it maybe. And then finally deciding to go in at Billy Kills. I think I'm actually more worried about the Mirari's Wake now, to be honest, so I will be turning my little devil in towards the Zacama player. Because apparently every single little point of damage is going to matter. Alright, a Fervor, I don't mind casting that either. We'll get to swing in with a couple of demons. If we top deck a land, we'll be able to go in for our commander as well with haste. So let's get down the haste enabler first. Then we'll minus down for the last time on Tibalt. And that'll just have to sit there as a means of keeping our opponents from gaining life. Not going to go in at Billy Kills. I'm going to hope that he's got some form of enchantment removal on the top for this Zacama. And he's going to die eventually to the Impact Tremors anyway, so we probably should go in at Billy Kills, because if he's got enchantment removal, he has to point it at the Impact Tremors to keep himself from dying to that, but we'll just leave him in play for now. He pretty much dies to a gentle breeze at this point. If someone wipes the board, then we can ping him out with these two Devils. Yorion Sky Nomad comes down now, probably just as a means of trying to keep themselves from going down to any form of combat damage. They can flicker the Journey to Nowhere to maybe get rid of this commander. And in flickering the Journey to Nowhere, they bring back the Chasm Skulker, which, like I said before, doesn't really matter without all the plus counters on it. They'll get the Journey to Nowhere back at the end of the turn, so we'll see where that is pointed. Yeah, that does get pointed at Rielle. That's exactly where I would have pointed it as well. Looks like... Are they putting it under the Journey to Nowhere? No, it has gone back into the command zone. So they're a few turns away from recasting that, I think. Now then, the moment of truth. Can Zacama get into the red mana finally? Thankfully, even with all that mana, nothing came down from the Zacama player. Yeah, they're just really colour screwed apparently, so looks as though they're in top deck mode, trying to get into the colour they need. Maybe they can do something at instant speed. They've still got 3 cards in hand. Anyway, a plus counter going on the Chasm Skulker. Solemn Simulacrum, and that will take them into a mountain, I imagine. Then following things up with a Personal Tutor. Wouldn't have thought they'd be too worried about a wheel at this point. They'd be filling up 3 players' hands. Yeah, 3 players' hands who are struggling. And they don't have their Rielle in play either, so... Yeah, let's see what they went for anyway. It is Nahiri's Wrath. We get into Torch Fiend. We can get rid of an artifact with that. I don't think we really care about doing that though. But it's another devil at the end of the day. So let's put Billy one step closer to going down to the Impact Tremors. And then we'll swing in at the Zacama player before they get themselves into a mountain. Yeah, that Creeping Corrosion really drew the game to a halt there. Yeah, we're pretty much all in top deck mode at the minute, seemingly. I think Rielle would have run away from this game had they managed to ramp earlier on. They were missing a lot of land drops earlier. But yeah, that Creeping Corrosion really slowed the game down for quite a few of us, I think. That's a good one, Eldrazi Displacer. Unfortunately, I don't think our Yorion friend has anything to do with it at the moment. Now they can turn Yorion sideways here, and they take Yorion in at the Tibalt. Probably because they're hoping that they can gain some life at some point before they die. So yeah, going in with their commander in that direction, they can untap it with the Eldrazi Displacer. Or actually, can they? I don't think they can, actually. They don't have a means of colourless mana, do they? You need colourless mana specifically with the Eldrazi Displacer, so yeah, not sure I would have gone for that in hindsight. Okay, Harmonise allows them to draw 3 cards. If they don't get into a mountain off of that, then it's really unlucky. Well, they might not have gotten into red mana, but they did get into Hour of Promise, which will take them into it. So we're seeing a Zacama next turn. It might be too late for them, though. Yeah, it depends on what the Rielle player does, really. They should swing in at the Zacama player before it hits play. And still only going for 1 mountain, surprisingly. Strip Mine is legal in this format, so I might have gone for a couple of red sources there. They also go in for Homeward Path. Alright, then going for a Fumigate, so I don't think it really matters if we sacrifice this to destroy an artifact, but let's do it anyway. Maybe we can get the Izzet player into some free counter magic, so let's give them the card draw now with Solemn Simulacrum. And it also gains them a little bit less life if there's less creatures in play to the Fumigate. Apparently there's no free counter magic to be had, so Fumigate will get the Izzet player into a couple of squid tokens, was it? And then they go up to 15 life, so I think it's Zacama's game to win now. Yeah, if I'd known that our opponent was going to play the Mirari's Wake, I would have pointed all the damage at them instead of Billy Kills, but that's hindsight for you. What is it now over here? It is Spellheart Chimera, Flying and Trample. Its power is equal to the number of instant and sorceries in the graveyard, so that's obviously the recurring theme here. The Squid, going in at the white player for some reason. If we play a creature next turn, we take them out. I would be concentrating on Zacama, to be honest, and coming in at us as well. Yeah, maybe they've got counter magic for Zacama then, and so they're not all that worried. I'd still take that player out as best I could. 2 damage over there is definitely what I would have done. So Billy Kills finally going down. Blasphemous Act. Blasphemous Act might be relevant next turn with Zacama in play. Maybe we can help the chance along with Keep at the end of Rielle's turn as well. So let's just pass straight over. Going straight in for the Zacama. Oh, and I've just noticed that the Izzet player is tapped out, so obviously no counter magic there. That comes down. That is a 10-10 with Vigilance, Reach and Trample. Gets the +1 from the Mirari's Wake. That's an Anthem, as well as a mana doubler. The other thing going in for Xenagos, so they'll be able to buff Zacama up to a 20-20, and then give it another buff with the Kessig Wolf Run, so someone's going down this turn. I think it should be this player, really, because they've actually got some stuff on board, and they've got more mana than us. But yeah, either way, we're going down here. Blowing up the Impact Tremors, should have gone for Keep in response to that, but I really don't think it's going to matter. So doubling up the power and toughness to a 20-20, and I don't think there's any decent blocks they can make here, because they probably just go Kessig Wolf Run in response to whatever blocks they make, or they should do. Alright, apparently not. Leaving them at 2 life. So maybe just playing with their food a little bit there. Maybe they don't know that they have Kessig Wolf Run in play for some reason. Anyway, we live to fight another day. Really don't see what we can get into to help us out here. Yeah, even Devil's Play, direct damage doesn't help us. We need the Izzet player to work his magic, really. Okay, Niv-Mizzet Perun, so even more card draw over there. They are at 1 life, so Zacama can... Oh no, it's 3 damage to a creature, not a player, so they will have to swing in again. But Niv-Mizzet is going to get wrapped up in the Blasphemous Act. Yeah. I'm hoping that they swing in at the Zacama player to give us half a chance, but I really don't see us doing anything in this game. Yeah, just swinging all 3 of these in over at Zacama, and then pulling away. Okay, deciding to deal a couple of damage to us. Help Zacama out. Jaya going in at us as well. Alright, all of it going in at us, so maybe they're trying to form some kind of allegiance there. Let's go for the Kerr Keep. And I'm not going to make any blocks. I want as many creatures in play as possible for the Blasphemous Act. Luckily, Zacama can't throw too many lightning bolts around at creatures because they've only got the one mounting. So we'll let all that damage through. See how long we can survive this game for. Knocking us down to 22. And then passing the turnover. Oh, Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune is way too late, unfortunately, as tempted as I am to go for that. Blasphemous Act cost 3, I think. Oh, if only Blasphemous Act cost 1, we could go Blasphemous Act into Wheel of Fortune. Well, we'll keep hold of it. Like I said, I don't think it's all that relevant this game. We're going to draw Niv Mizzet Perun a card. And they go for gaining some life with Zacama. I would think they'd want to blow up the fervor at some point as well. I think they can... It's an artifact or enchantment they can go for. Then they go for an Enlightened Shooter, which draws Niv Mizzet another card. And then it's 1 damage that... I think that 1 damage came over to us from Niv Mizzet. Don't know why they're not concentrating on Zacama. Okay, not sure where the first point of damage went, but the second one going on to Zacama. And then we will successfully wipe the board. Doesn't look like they're looking to get rid of our fervor for some reason. So successfully wiping the board and keeping a fervor intact. If we survive until next turn, which I have a feeling we will... Oh, actually, this gives haste, doesn't it? I always think this gives trample for some reason, but yes, it is haste that it gives, so all they have to do is get down there Zacama next turn, and then buff it with this. Maybe they forget about their Kessig Wolfrun again, but yeah, it's not hopeful for us that we will survive until next turn. There it is again, Zacama Primal Calamity, tapping down all their lands because Zacama will untap all the lands when it comes in. And now they have 7 mana floating. Going for a Greater Good, that would have been really good in response to the Blasphemous Act. And that animates the Xenagos as well, so there's no reason that they... What on earth are they doing? I was just going to say there's no reason they can't win this turn, but apparently they would rather drag the game out even longer. Looks like they're going to go in for their Zacama again. Just deciding to refill their hand before they swing in. So Zacama coming back down again. And untapping all the lands again. I don't know if this is infinite with the Greater Good. They decide to sacrifice their Zacama in order to refill their hand. They go up to 8 cards in hand. And then I assume they're going to recast Zacama again. Yep, that's what they go for. And then sacrificing it again. I'm not sure how many cards they actually need. They do have haste. Yeah, all they have to do is turn the Zacama and the Xenagos sideways in at both of us, buff with the Kessig Wolfrun, and they've got us. Alright, our opponent says that they were going for Comet Storm there. Just been talking to them in the chat, but I've just pointed out to them that all they have to do here is swing this in at us with a Kessig Wolfrun buff, that in over here, and they've got us, so no need to go for Comet Storm. If they carry on sacrificing here, there we go, they go for the Kessig Wolfrun now. So obviously that's not a line of play that they saw, they thought they had to go for the Comet Storm. Xenagos buffing Zacama up to a 36-28, which should come in at us. And it does, and then Xenagos in at Awaken, like I said, so there we go, finally getting this game over and done with. I think the game could have ended a bit sooner than that, but nevertheless I think we had a pretty good back and forth. It wasn't too incredibly high powered considering the start that we got off to. Like I've said a few times in this game, that Creeping Corrosion really hurt us, but I'm not sure we would have done much better had we have kept our rocks, to be honest, because yeah, we weren't getting into the card advantage. That Wheel of Fortune was way too late for us. Let's try and have a look at what we would have drawn into. It's not going to show us. So yeah, with that being said, be sure to let me know what you thought of this game in the comments and leave it a thumbs up if you want to see more from Zurzoth. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.